But let's get started in this episode. Starting at number 10, we have Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib. Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib was a foster brother and companion and paternal uncle of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. But Hamza was martyred in the Battle of Uhud on the 22nd of March 625. He was also known by other names like Asad Allah, meaning the Lion of God, as well as Asad al-Jannah, meaning the Lion of Heaven. And there was another name that he went by that the Prophet Muhammad himself gave to him, and that was Sayyid ash-Shuhada. Moving on to number 9, we have Uqba ibn Nafi. Uqba was an Arab general serving the Rashidun Caliphate since the reign of Umar and later on the Umayyad Caliphate during the reigns of Muawiyah I as well as Yazid I, leading the Muslim conquest of the Maghreb, including present-day Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Morocco. Uqba was the nephew of Amr ibn al-As, and he is often surnamed al-Fihri, and he's surnamed that way in reference to the Banu Fihri, which was the clan connected to the Quraysh, which of course the Prophet Muhammad came from. His descendants would then be known as the Uqbids or the Fihrids. Uqba is the founder of the cultural city of Kairouan in Tunisia. Number 8 brings us Nusayba bin Ka'ab. Nusayba bin Ka'ab, also known as Amara, was one of the early women to convert to Islam. She was one of the companions also of the Prophet Muhammad. At the time when 74 leaders, warriors, and statesmen of Medina descended on Al-Aqaba to swear an oath of allegiance to Islam following the teaching of the new religion by Mus'ab ibn Umair in the city, Nusayba was one of the only women to personally pledge directly to the Islamic prophet Muhammad. Her most well-known role came in the Battle of Uhud, where she defended the prophet. Now, she also participated in the Battle of Hunain, Yamama, and the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. I definitely felt a woman needed to be included in this episode. Now, moving on to number 7, we have Sayyid ibn Abi Waqqas. Sayyid ibn Abi Waqqas was also known as Sayyid ibn Malik, and he was one of the companions of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. Sayyid was reportedly the 7th person to embrace the religion of Islam, which he did at the age of just 17 years old. He's also very well known for his commandership in the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah and the conquest of Persia in the year 636, as well as he's known for his governorship over Persia, as well as his diplomatic journeys to China in 651. Also, at the time of the Battle of Uhud, Said was chosen as an archer. Said was among those who fought in defense of the Prophet Muhammad after some Muslims had deserted their positions. They kind of just abandoned the battle. So the Prophet Muhammad honored him by declaring him one of the best archers of that time. During that time, as he fought along the Prophet Muhammad also gathered some arrows for him. Khalid ibn al-Walid comes in at number 6. Khalid ibn al-Walid was an Arab Muslim commander in the service of the Islamic Prophet Muhammad and the Caliphs Abu Bakr and Umar, who played a leading role in the Ridda Wars against the rebel tribes in Arabia in the years 632 to 633, as well as in the early Muslim conquests of Sasanian Iraq in the years 633 to 634, and also Byzantine Syria in the years 634 to 638. According to the historian Hugh N. Kennedy, following his conversion, Khalid began to devote all of his considerable military talents to the support of the new Muslim state. With that said, let's continue this list. At number 5, we have Amr ibn al-As. Amr ibn al-As was the Arab commander who led the Muslim conquest of Egypt, and he served as its governor in 640 to 646, as well as between 658 to 664. Amr embraced Islam in 629, and he was assigned important roles in the Muslim community by the Islamic prophet Muhammad. He was personally tasked by the Prophet Muhammad with leading the raid of Dat al-Salasil, likely located in Western Arabia, and it was a lucrative opportunity for Amr in the view of the potential war spoils. And that was common because whenever you won a war, you would take all the spoils for yourself and maybe keep it all to yourself or divide it amongst your people. Either way, Amr launched the conquest of Egypt on his own initiative in late 639, and that's where he defeated the Byzantines in a string of victories, and those victories ended with the surrender of Alexandria in Egypt around the year 641 or 642. The specific date is not 100% known, or at least I couldn't find the specific date anyways. Now, it was said that this was practically the fastest of the early Muslim conquests, and Egypt has remained under Muslim rule ever since that time. Next up at number 4, we have Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha. Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha was a Muslim Arab general in the army of the Rashidun Caliphate. He was also commander of the Muslim Arabs in Al-Hira, from where they were conducting different raids in the plains of Sasanian Mesopotamia. He was also among the commanders at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah in the year 636 after the capture of Persian territory in Iraq by Muslim Arab forces and the departure of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Al-Muthanna was put in charge of Muslim Arab occupied territories of Iraq. From there, Al-Muthanna relied on his tribe, the Bakr, along with several other powerful Arab tribes, including the Taghlib and the Tamim, and he really depended on them to maintain control over the territories. Al-Qaqa ibn Amr al-Tamimi comes in at number 3. This man was from the Banu Tamim, and he and his tribe converted to Islam around the time of Anaf ibn Qais. He's known as a very successful military commander who took part in 2 important victories in early Muslim conquests. Those were the Battle of Yarmouk against the Byzantine Empire, and also the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah against the Sasanian Empire. Later, the Caliph Abu Bakr praised him as an equal to 11,000 men. So in return, the Caliph predecessor, Caliph Umar, only sent him a handful of bodyguards as reinforcements to Al-Qadisiyah as the first wave of reinforcement, making him one of the most efficient military figures of that time. Next up at number 2, we have Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar was one of the most powerful and influential Muslim caliphs in history. He was a senior companion of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. Now, what's really important to note is that during his reign, almost the entire Sassanid Persian Empire were annexed to the Rashidun Caliphate. According to one of the estimates, more than 4,050 cities were captured during these military conquests. So prior to his death in the year 644, Umar had ceased all of his military expeditions, and this was to consolidate his rule in recently conquered Roman Egypt and the newly conquered Sassanid Empire. That happened between the years 642 to 644. And at the time of his passing away in November 644, his rule extended from the present-day Libya in the west to the Indus River in the east, as well as the Oxus River in the north. Now, coming in at number 1 in this episode, we have Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib was a cousin and son-in-law of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, who ruled as the 4th caliphate from the year 656 up until 661. And the thing is, Ali is regarded as the rightful immediate successor to the prophet Muhammad as an imam by Shia Muslims. Sunnis do not believe that though. With the exception of the Battle of Tabuk, Ali took part in all of the battles and expeditions fought for Islam, as well as being the standard bearer in those battles. Ali, he led military troops and warriors on raids into enemy lands, and Ali had played a major role in the Battle of Uhud, as well as many other battles. This is why he is number 1 in this episode.
So on number 10, we have Harun al-Rashid. Harun al-Rashid was born in Iran in 763. In some sources, they say he was born in 766. Harun al-Rashid became Abbasid dynasty's 5th caliph and is considered one of the greatest leaders. By the time he came to power in 786, the Abbasids were already at their strongest, and he was one of the world's most powerful men. One of his major military achievements was the successful campaign against the Byzantine from 797 to 806. While he didn't expand the empire any further, Harun's reign is best known for his religious, scientific, and cultural prosperity. Harun was the man who pushed Islamic culture forward. So on number 9, we have Mahmud of Ghazni. So Mahmud was born in 971 in modern-day Afghanistan and was a man who valued learning. Mahmud was the first leader in history to carry the title Sultan, which means authority. and he is probably the greatest leaders of the Ghaznavid Empire. He had a successful military career where he created an empire that spanned across Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and parts of India. He quickly learned the value of using powerful archers on horseback as it became his primary tactics in battles. Unlike a number of great military men, his archers could kill enemies from a great distance and make it easier for his troops on the ground to overwhelm the enemy. The one thing he's best known for is his invasions of India. From 1000 to 1027, Mahmud invaded India on 17 different occasions. His invasions were timed so well because they occurred every time whenever India's power was in a decline. So on number 8, we have Ertugrul. So according to the Ottoman tradition, he was the son of Suleiman Shah, leader of the Kai tribe of Turks. Ertugrul fled from western Central Asia to Anatolia to escape the Mongol conquest. According to the legends, after the death of his father, Ertugrul and his followers offered their services to a Sultan of Rum. So Rum is what we currently know as Turkey. So the Sultan of Rum rewarded him and his followers with the control of the town Sogat. So Sogat was a place that was neighboring the Byzantine Empire. Eventually, this set off the chain of events that would ultimately lead to founding of the Ottoman Empire. On number 7, we have Sultan Mehmed II, also known as Mehmed the Conqueror. He was the Ottoman Sultan who ruled from 1444 to 1446, and then again ruled from 1451 to 1481. Mehmed II was only in his teenage years when he defeated the crusade led by John Hunyadi, who was a Hungarian leader. John invaded Mehmed's country and broke the conditions of the peace treaty between them. So when Mehmed II ascended to the throne again in 1451, he enforced the Ottoman navy and made preparations to attack the Constantinople, which is the modern-day Istanbul, Turkey. At the age of 21, he conquered Constantinople and brought an end to the Byzantine Empire. After the conquest, Mehmed claimed a pretty cool title as the Caesar of the Roman Empire. On number 6, we have Osman I. Osman, or Osman Ghazi, was the leader of the Ottoman Turks and the founder of the Ottoman dynasty. Osman's father was Ertugrul. The dynasty bearing his name later established and ruled the Ottoman Empire. So the interesting part about Osman is that the Ottomans did not record the history of Osman's life until the 15th century, which is more than 100 years after his death, which makes it very challenging for historians to differentiate between facts and myths in the stories that are told about him. But what we do know is that after his father Ertugrul passed away, he was in charge of the town Sogat, where he would launch raids against the neighboring Byzantine Empire. If you guys are enjoying the video so far, please make sure to hit the like button, as well as don't forget to subscribe, and let's move on to number 5. So on number 5, we have Muhammad bin Qasim al-Thaqafi. So Muhammad bin Qasim al-Thaqafi was an Arab commander for a general of the Umayyad Islamic State during the rulings of the Caliph al-Walid. At the age of just 17, he was sent by Caliph al-Walid to lead the conquest of Sindh and Multan, which we currently know as Pakistan. During this time, Sindh and Multan were actually under control of the third and the last Maharaja of the Brahmin dynasty. If you guys don't know what a Maharaja is, basically it's an Indian prince, and during that time the Indian prince was Raja Dahir. The Indian prince Raja Dahir was actually inferior in technical skills and lost to Muhammad bin Qasim, who was only 17, in the Battle of Auror, which actually makes Muhammad bin Qasim the first Muslim ever to successfully invade Sindh, which had laid down the foundations of Muslims to rule in the subcontinent. So on number 4, we have Saladin. The Egyptian Sultan is one of the most famous Muslim commanders of all time. So Saladin was born in the modern-day Iraq in 1137. His military career began when he started following his uncle's footsteps. His uncle's name was Ashurku. Him and his uncle would go into various battles together. He actually became the first sultan and ruler of Egypt and Syria. He then went on to defeat the Crusaders in the Battle of Hattin in 1187, where he gained control of the holy city, Jerusalem. So after the European officials found out about this, they sent the Third Crusade to take back the holy city, where Saladin fought the legendary King Richard the Lionheart. So the fight did end up with the truce, where the Muslims still had control of the holy city. So on number 3, we have Tariq ibn Ziyad. So Tariq ibn Ziyad was a Umayyad commander who in 1107 initiated the Muslim conquest of the Visigothic Hispania, which is presently known as Spain and Portugal. He led a large army and crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from the North Africa coast. So the name Gibraltar is actually the Spanish deviation of an Arabic name meaning the mountain of Tariq. So Tariq had won a decisive victory when Roderick, who was the Visigothic king, was killed in the Battle of Guadalete. So there's a legend that says that Tariq actually ordered that the ships that he arrived in to be burnt to prevent any hesitation from retreating. So on number 2, we have Babur. So Babur's name means tiger, and he became the first Mughal emperor after overcoming a series of initial setbacks. Although Babur was a Mughal, much of his support came from the Turks. So he made his first raid on India in 1519, and he captured the site Kandahar, which is modernly known as Afghanistan. So while conquering Punjab in 1525, Babur's army numbered no more than 12,000, while his opponents had around 100,000 soldiers. He used innovative tactics to split up his enemy's army and use his artillery to cause panics. This wasn't the only time where Babur overcame incredible odds. He would use his brilliance tactics to always outsmart his opponents. So number 1, we have the one and only Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He's the most influential Muslim in the history of Islam. It is believed that Islam is a faith that was gradually revealed to humanity by a number of prophets. Complete revelation of the faith was made through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the 7th century. So after the Holy Prophet's encounter with Angel Jibreel, he spent the rest of his life in receiving revelations. The words of revelations were remembered, recorded, and formed the Holy Quran, which became the foundation of Islam and the Muslim world. When the Prophet started to preach, a lot of people started to accept Islam. And by the time he passed away in 632, almost all the tribes of the Arabian Peninsula had converted to Islam.